Welcome to the Blind Android Users channel. This is your source for everything Android tutorials and demos, all from a blindness perspective. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more content like this. The subject of notifications. What are these notifications? Notifications have been with us ever since the introduction of the mobile phone. So when we talk about things like calls or someone sending you a text message or sending you a file, all these things could actually be referred to as notifications. These are attention getters. Today we're talking about these notifications, these attention getters, and we're looking at these at the per app notification settings. And so as we continue this subject matter, we are here in that system settings as we indicated, and that's the area that talks about
Apps, Assistant, Recent Apps, Default Apps.
Let's go in here and look at a notification.
Settings. Apps, out of list. Showing items 1 to 10 of 12.
One could pick any app here to go look at its notifications. For me though, I'm going to look under the recently opened apps. And under my recently opened apps, I have the following.
Apps. Recently opened apps. Heading, in list. Duo, 36 minimum. Ago.
I have the Google Duo and it says I've opened it like 36 minutes ago. I'll tap on this.
Settings. App info, out of list.
We are now in the app info just like we saw last week when we looked at Google Chrome. And what we're looking for is notifications. We got things like
Open, button, in list. Uninstall, button.
And below that we have something called additional app settings in the app.
Additional settings in the app.
And below that we have
Notifications, ~3 notifications per week.
We will come back to that additional settings in the app, but for now let's tap here on notifications, and thus we're dealing with the app notifications as for Google Duo.
Settings. Duo, out of list. Showing items 1 to 11 of 25.
We are told that there are a total of 25 items. I am not necessarily going to speak about each and every one of these, but I'll just go through so that at your own leisure time, you could come back in here and dig through and make changes as you see fit. But here's what we've got. Starting from the middle of the phone, we have a switch that has been turned on by default, and that is something that says
All Duo notifications, on, switch.
All Duo notifications are turned on. If I turn this switch off, then what happens is that
Off. Showing items 1 to 3 of 3.
we have only 3 items. And here's what that will say.
At your request, Android is blocking this app's notifications from appearing on this device.
So in other words, when someone calls me, sends me a message, or I miss a call or whatever from Google Duo, that is not going to be showing up here on my Pixel 4. So let's turn it back on now and see what items we have in these Google Duo notifications.
All Duo notifications, off, on. Showing items 1 to 11 of 25.
So here's what we got. Under each of these, there's a switch that one could turn off or leave on by default.
Calls, heading.
Under calls heading, we've got
All, calls, notifications, on, switch.
next.
Receive 1. 1 calls, ~1 notification per week.
We'll come back to this one shortly.
On, receive 1. 1 calls, switch. Receive group calls.
Group calls. You can create a group on Google Duo.
On, receive group calls, switch. Missed calls, ~2 notifications per week. On, missed calls, switch.
Let's keep going.
Messages, heading.
Under messaging,
All, messages, notifications, on, switch. New messages. On, new messages, switch. Showing items
keep
1 to
going.
11. Message reactions. Showing items 12 to 22 of 25. On message reactions switch.
Message reaction, just like we have in Google Messages or Google Gmail, you could quickly react to a message without necessarily needing to do some typing.
Other heading.
We now come to the other heading. Let's keep going.
Account updates.
Account updates.
On account updates switch. Reminders that you're in a call.
Reminders that I'm in a call. So I need a notification to let me know I'm in a call.
On reminders that you're in a call switch.
Next.
Retry reminders for missed calls. On retry reminders for missed calls switch.
So here we're talking about those times that either you try to call someone and either they're on another Google Duo call, or maybe they have bad connectivity and you're unable to get hold of them, or maybe they try calling you or something like that. You could get those notifications saying, hey, it's probably most likely now that you can get hold of that person. And that's what these things are about. Next.
Contact updates.
Contact updates, that has to do with when you add someone to your contacts and they happen to get Google Duo or sign up for Google Duo. You'll be notified that so-and-so now is on Duo and things like that. Or if you have your contacts and you don't turn this on, when someone becomes a Duo user, you're not going to know it. So leaving this on lets you know who is and who isn't on Duo.
Transfer calls among devices.
Transfer calls between devices. In other words, if I'm on this device, for example, and my battery is running out, and so I decided to go grab another phone, then I should be able to transfer that call to that other device and continue with my conversation.
On transfer calls among devices switch.
Next.
Group updates.
Group updates.
On group updates switch.
On those Google Duo groups, you could have someone new come on or someone post a message on there. You should be able to get those updates, and that's what this one is for. Next.
New features.
New features, that is when there's any new introduction or Google team introduce something new to Duo, you will see those new features here. It's like the what is new.
On new features switch.
Next.
Messages from Duo team.
In other words, the Duo team, the people working on Duo, they could send messages to everyone on Duo, and you will see those messages in here if you have it on. By default, it is turned on.
On messages from Duo team switch. SIM card changes. On SIM card changes switch.
So this happens when you travel to another country, for example. However, when you have a SIM change, you'll still be able to access your contacts that are on Duo as though you are still within your country of origin, even though you have a different SIM card on here. Next.
Special events and topics.
There are times that there are some special events, topics, and those things can be posted on Duo, and you should be able to see those things if you have it turned on, and by default, it is turned on.
On special events and topics switch. Unseen messages reminders.
Unseen messages. And this has to do with messages that I didn't realize I got a message. It will show me, hey, I still have these unseen messages here, and that by default is turned on.
On unseen messages reminders switch. Allow notification on switch.
And the last item here is to allow notification dots. In other words, if I have several missed calls or several messages that I got through Google Duo. And by the way, if you're not familiar with Google Duo, you can actually even send text messages. It's not as dynamic and rich as what you will have in the likes of Telegram and all of that, but at least you can send some messages here. So if I have this turned on, when I have those messages, I should be able to see as to how many of these I have. Let's now go back to the top and look at a couple items that I was going to talk about, and those are the received calls and the missed calls, and basically each of those have the same items. Let's look at received calls.
Receive 1 calls, ~1 notification per week.
If we tab here,
Settings. Receive 1 calls, out of list.
and in here we have the following.
Selected. Button. Default. May ring or vibrate based on phone settings. In list.
There's a default, or I could tap on
Button. Silent.
silent, which means I wouldn't hear any notification and things like that. Next,
Pop on screen. When device is unlocked, show notifications as a banner across the top of the screen. On. Switch.
next,
Sound. None.
I could tap here to go choose a special sound for this duo if I wanted to. Right now is none.
Vibration. On. Switch.
And here, whether or not it should vibrate, and by default here it's set to vibrate.
Lock screen. Don't show notifications at all. Showing items 1 to 7 of 9.
Lock screen do not show any notifications at all, and this is following my system-wide settings that I have set in place to where no app should display any notifications on the lock screen. So even if I tap here to go say, hey, I want to allow Google Duo to show notifications, it is not going to be available because this one has been set in the general area of notifications, which we'll get to later on as we proceed with these episodes.
Show notification dot. Off. Switch.
Again,
Showing
we see
items
another show notification dots here, and this one is off. So if I've chosen something like silent notification, and yet in the same breath, I choose to show notification dots, then it'll show me those notification dots, even though it's not going to make any sounds or anything of the sort. Next,
Override do not disturb. Let these notifications continue to interrupt when do not disturb is on. Off. Switch.
so this is about do not disturb. So if I wanted to make my Duo even send me notifications, I could turn this on, and therefore when I'm in do not disturb, these notifications could come through or the ringing could come through. So that's what that is about. And this type of settings are also found in the missed calls. I will now go back to the app info screen and look at the other item that we saw, which I was going to talk about, and that's the one that says additional settings in the app.
Settings. Receive 1. 1.
Let's go back.
Settings. Notifications. ~3 notifications per week. In list.
Now above this is where we see that additional settings in the app.
Additional settings in the app.
So basically, if I tap here, it will be the same thing as going through to Duo and then tapping on the more options on the top right and then going into the settings. That's what this area will take me to. For example, if I tap here.
Settings. Back. Button. Out of list.
And here are the things that we would be finding if we had gone the route of going through Duo and then tapping on the more options on the top right. And these items here would include the following. I'm just going to go through them real quick.
Account.
We got account,
Call
settings,
message settings.
message settings,
Notifications.
notifications again,
Choose theme. System.
theme,
Blocked users.
and block users. So you can go in here and manage your block users. So you added someone to your block list. You can go in here and unblock him or her. And that's what we're talking about per app notification. So you could come into this area and go customize your app and choose how you want to manage that app notification.
Thanks, Warren. That was a really good demonstration on notifications. And one of the key things I think you call out is that for the same app, you can have different sounds for different notifications. And indeed, you can turn off different notifications. You did Duo, didn't you? So that level of customizability. I think I would like in app notifications a little bit more global customization. Like if I want one sound across all notifications for a given app, I think that could be made a little bit easier. But yeah, as you'll have seen from Warren, you get a lot of customization, lots of flexibility from that demo.
I want to know if I can have notifications for my email so that it goes bing, but it doesn't keep trying to read out the subjects of the emails, because that's very irritating. Do you know if you can have one without the other?
If your phone is locked, you can, because what you would do is you would set it not to show sensitive notifications on the lock screen. If your phone is unlocked and it does it, I don't know, to be honest. Do you, Warren, whether you can hide the contents of a notification but still have it ping?
So as we're going to be talking about this down the line in our notifications and sounds, what's actually going on here is that even if you turn off do not read whatever in TalkBack, for example, what's going on here is that if you have your Google accessing, if you want it to be able to read your messages, sometimes by default, some people have it on, and we'll be talking about that. That's what's going on here. So if you don't want to hear that, then you say, Google, hey, don't have access to my notifications. And we'll be dealing with that in the notifications and sounds. In a few episodes from now, we'll be touching on that. So we'll be talking about that here pretty soon.
Brilliant.
Warren, you say some people have it on. Do some people have it off as well?
Yeah, some people have it on. Like, for instance, if I want to be able to hear my emails when they come in, I have to do that. If I don't turn that on, because Google will not have access to my email messages so that they can be read aloud. If I don't have that turned on, it will not work. But if I have it on, and I'm not sure, it seems like by default that is on. I don't remember because I have mine turned off, but that's what's going on. And if you turn it off in TalkBack saying, hey, I don't want you to say anything when my screen is locked or something like that, it may still have access to it because you have given it that permissions. But again, it makes sense to say, hey, I don't want something showing on my lock screen, for example. That also might help with the issue we're talking about. But then the issue I'm talking about will also be important. For instance, if you say, read my last messages or read my whatever messages, if you don't have that feature turned on, you would be told you need to give it permission in order to do that. And it's part of that.
One of the easiest, although you might not want to do it, but it is just to turn off notifications for your email client, and then nothing will be read. And you'll just check your emails when you check your emails. But that might not work for your use case. But we'll dive into it when we do sounds and notifications.
Thanks for listening to another clip from the Blind Android Users channel. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you're notified of every new material that we upload. Thanks again for listening to the Blind Android Users channel.